Welcome back, my friends, to another video here on the channel. Today we're going to be talking about Nintendo's kind of vision to strive to create a controller, a brand new controller, to reinvent the controller that can be used with ease and that will become the standard for the next generation of gaming, really. During Nintendo's 79th annual general meeting of shareholders, there was one investor that brought up how E3 featured the same sort of things we've been seeing from games over the past 3 decades, in the sense that players look at the screen and play with the controller in their hand, etc., etc. This person kind of wanted to know how did the developers feel about this, and whether or not that will continue. You know, will there be some kind of an innovation? And this ended up leading to a bunch of very interesting comments from Nintendo. Now, this report is coming via Nintendo Everything, so they are the source. So Nintendo's very own Shigeru Miyamoto, Shinya Takahashi, and Ko Shiota all commented on this right here. So Takahashi had the following to say, saying that we are always dreaming up new things. For example, for 1-2 Switch, the first game released for Nintendo Switch, we suggested that people play by looking at each other and not at the screen. And for VR, we thought about how we could change not just the controller, but also the gameplay itself, and came up with the Nintendo Labo Toy-Con 04 VR kit. The software exhibited at this year's E3 just happened to be mostly the type that is played with the controller in hand, looking at the screen. However, I think that you can see from the software we've created that we are always trying out new ideas. Then Miyamoto had the following to say: Nintendo was the first to create the style of playing video games with plus-shaped directional pad and additional buttons, which has now become the industry standard. It was also Nintendo that changed the original plus-shaped directional pad, which operated digitally in 8 directions, into the first analog input device that moves freely in all directions for the Nintendo 64. This too is now common. We are proud to have created a variety of user interfaces that have now become the industry standards. As of now, in terms of accuracy and reliability, I believe this style is the clear winner. At the same time, I also believe that we should quickly graduate from the current controller, and we are attempting all kinds of things. Our objective is to achieve an interface that surpasses the current controller, where what the player does is directly reflected on the screen and the user can clearly feel the result. This has not been achieved yet. We have tried all kinds of motion controllers, but none seem to work for all people. As the company that knows the most about controllers, we have been striving to create a controller that can be used with ease and will become the standard for the next generation. And then finally, Shiota had the following to say: the hardware development team is also taking on its challenge related to controllers, but from all the devices born from this effort, only a handful will reach the consumer as products. We will only release a product into the world if it can be successfully used to control software well. We have not yet invented an all-purpose controller that is unlike any of the current devices. Then again, the conventional controller has slowly evolved from the traditional setup of a plus-shaped directional pad with an A and B buttons. For example, when you take aim in Splatoon, the action may seem conventional, but the motion sensor gives a wonderful feel to the operation. So even if things may look the same, we are steadily embedding new technologies and finding good ways to use them. One of Nintendo's strengths is that we do not just think about hardware, but are constantly thinking about it in conjunction with software. We will continue to put in our best efforts in this area. So really cool to kind of hear Nintendo talk about, you know, how they're still, like, you know, focusing on different ways to innovate the controller, different ways to always innovate. And again, you know, whether you like something or don't like something from Nintendo, you got to admit they are the kings and queens of innovation. They are the masters of innovation. You know, whether again you like it or not, look at the Wii, for example, with the motion controls. You know, not everyone liked the motion controls in every single game. Some games it was really, really fun. And I personally absolutely love the Wii. I love motion controls. You know, obviously some games was a little bit clunky, like Skyward Sword I found a little bit clunky, and you know, other games like Super Mario Galaxy, you know, it was used very well. And you know, now with the new kind of technology that they have in the Joy-Cons, it's much more advanced kind of motion controls than it was back then. You don't actually need a sensor, for example, right? It's more based on like gyroscope, things like that. Nintendo's had, the 3DS where they've implemented, glasses-less 3D technology. So Nintendo's always innovating different things, not just controllers, but all kinds of technologies, all kinds of really cool things. The Switch being a hybrid of, a home control, a home console and console you can take with you on the go. Nintendo is just absolutely incredible at innovating, and they're always thinking outside of the box, and I just cannot wait to see what the future holds for Nintendo and what they come up with in the future. So let me know what you guys think about all this in the comment section below, excuse me. And if you guys have any ideas what you could see Nintendo coming up with in the future, let me know if you guys have any ideas in the comments section below. But at the same time, it's hard for us to kind of think of something, because, like, again, how would you innovate the controller further than what it is right now? It's so perfect right now, in my opinion. They've built upon it over the past few years, but to change the actual interface of the controller, it's going to be a very difficult thing to kind of change that as a whole, unless you're just adding on to it, which I think would be a cool thing, which they have been doing with, again, the HD rumble and gyroscope and IR sensor and et cetera, as they've been adding, with the Switch and over the past few years, they've been adding bit by bit, right? So, and rumble, right? Nintendo also invented the rumble function as well, so they've invented a lot. So I can't wait to see what they got in store for the future. But again, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Catch you guys very soon, another one like always. Until then, game on.